Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hot Takes League Edition. And surprise, surprise, we're coming back, and Faker has won another World Championship. Who could ever see that happening? Um, Davide, what was the experience seeing him do it again? I mean, you were there last year as well. You've had the honor of seeing him do it twice in person now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It was insane, I guess. Because, like KT was winning the first games and, like, it was 12-2-1. And you were wondering, like, will they actually do it? And then T1 just decided to turn up again.
Their
Doran.
comfort zone. 2-1 against T1, it's their comfort zone.
Yeah. Doran decided to just, like, kind of show up, but also not show up in that last game.
Yeah.
Very questionable. But actually, it was Owner, I think. Like, Owner decided to turn up, even though, like, we can also talk about the finals MVP later, but just, I guess T1 is. When we talk about, like, Game 5 T1, there's always something. They have, like, the extra, So, I'm just, like, happy to see Faker, I guess, getting his kind of revenge from 2017. A little bit sad because I thought like KT definitely deserved it. It's just that Game 5 Smolder does not work out.
Yeah, it feels like it's funny because T1, what I kind of recall from them is like they are the one who they draft for game 5 that they have to make the plays in early game. And it's something kind of rare because actually in game 5 it's where you will mostly rely on scaling because sometimes you're kind of scared to push the trigger to pull the trigger in the early game and maybe get just get outplayed by the fact that maybe you're just not you're under pressure, right? So yeah, it's funny that in game 5 they always take those compositions where they have to to pull the trigger in early game, and they are actually making it work. While the other team will mostly rely on scaling with smaller zigs, as Davide said, with KT or maybe the Jinx Lulu from anyone's legend. Um, so yeah, they're just not scared. They're just not scared at these timings, and that's I think what bring them a lot of titles because when you look at KT in game 4 and 5, honestly, I don't feel like both perfect cuz and even Peter in a like not as much as the other two, but they didn't look like themselves to be honest. I feel like Cuz and Perfect were playing out of their mind, both at Worlds and in this final two. Like I think before game 4, Cuz was my MVP. Um, but then yeah, they kind of collapsed. I think maybe they were scared to win, which is something that is not it's not forgiving against a team such as T1 that is so clutch.
Yeah.
I guess.
I was going to say it's sort of like
Go, go.
what we were saying. What we were saying last week, where like T1, it's just like they would have that difference now, where that group of players has just done it so many times already and been there so many times that when their opponents might start feeling the nerves or things might start affecting them, like feels obvious that T1 shouldn't be affected like that. Like I feel like for Peter especially, it was unfortunate that game 5 because like the narrative had been as well that he was maybe the weak point, but then at Worlds he'd been so good, and then it literally got to like the most important like championship deciding match, and then that was when it kind of came back a bit of the rocky form. So yeah, a bit unfortunate. And BDD, like probably one of the best Worlds performances for a player to not win Worlds as well, which is it's just gutting.
Also said we also said in the last show that he was the one that wouldn't choke, and actually it happened.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Davide?
I guess for me, it's like I guess the impression that I always had from T1 was that they obviously their champion pool is a lot wider. I guess this is just because of how the guys have been training and obviously how long the guys have been playing together. Like they have a lot of comfort zone, like comfort playstyles that did the default to. I feel like the impression that they gave me is that KT a little bit like KL in that sense, kind of run out of options when it comes to like game fives. And I guess it's something that it's happening a lot. Like I feel like teams go back to smaller mid because they think that scaling is a good option. Because it's like, oh, I don't really want to push. Like I don't know. Like I don't have enough confidence in trying to make those proactive plays like T1 does. So I'll just play something in scaling, hoping that like if the enemy doesn't like fully play out um, the game as supposed on paper, then KT will just take over with the small right. Um, I guess for me the game fight thing, it was mainly decided by the top side. Like I was very surprised by I think it was uh, the Yorick pick. Yeah.
Yep.
That was picked up in early rotation. Actually, I asked the coach about it. I guess he didn't actually give me like um, big reasons. He just said that when the players needs like counter picks in such a decisive match, you just try to give something that the player is more comfortable on, rather than sticking to like, oh, what kind of team comp do we need to play, or like what stuff do you need to play. And I guess also like Owner did a super great job at punishing Perfect, knowing that he would have probably like in that matchup specifically, he had to like play consistently by pushing, because otherwise Camille would outscale. And then Owner decided to like completely ditch his entire jungle early on to just like get a couple of ganks for Doran. And even though Doran like kind of messed up a few plays later, Camille was way ahead of Yorick, and then that was the game decider, because they needed a way to punish the smaller as quickly as possible, and like Camille getting fed meant that he like Doran could just force any play, and then have Owner and then not the rest of the team follow up on it.
And even the
For me,
Galio,
it's like
because there was
yeah,
standard
obviously.
Galio, there
I
was
mean,
the MF ulti, like
that's a fair
like
their
their comp was very good to it. Yeah.
yeah, their comfort compo, no. So I guess it's mainly just T1 having a much wider champion pool, and them being super confident in trying to pull off anything that they want.
Yeah.
I feel like we could probably go to like fearless best of sevens, and like T1 would still have like more team comps that they would work with, just because of the synergy that the guys have.
Yeah, and especially because like KT, I think did a good job in the early draft to kind of get rid of the T1's comfort pick they had during the playoff. Like I think about the Nico, I think about the Ash, I think about the Mel. All those picks were, like KT did like pick those pick early in the drafts to kind of make sure that T1 won't have them if it goes to 4 or 5 games. But even then, they had the Galio, they had the misfortune, they had everything. And actually, we need to talk about the MVP, I think, because to me, I heard you talk about like Honor being the MVP. To be honest, I feel like in game 2 and 3, Honor was completely gapped by Cuz, so I don't think that he really deserved it because of those 2 games. I agree that in game 4 and 5, it's mainly him that did the job in early game, and that's mainly him that you know find those clutch moments to actually get back in the series. Um, but even then, I think Guma game 5, like I think there was a few time where, as you said also, Doran went like much too far, and
Mm.
kind of threw the game. But then Guma just clutched it. It was like the man that you don't see in the early game, that you kind of let him play the game. You think like, okay, there's the Ziggs, there's the Smolder, there are the carries, there are the champions that will carry the game eventually if it goes to late game and everything. And then there's just Guma that find those clutch moments, when Doran kind of threw the whole lead T1 had. And I think that without Guma, they wouldn't have won that game 5, to be honest. Um, just because of the fact that they threw it. And yeah, the both the ultimate he did on the play bot completely changed the game to me. And then the last fight, he also carried it very hard, you know, by completely outplaying. I think it was both BDD and the Ziggs, or was it the support? I'm not sure, but he just like completely spaced them. Like he made them look like bronze, to be honest, in that last fight, and I was kind of impressed by that. But yeah, it's just like the confidence, which we like. I'm so impressed by the confidence he pulled out. He pulled out on such an important moment, given the year he had, the fact that he was very much doubted. You know, overall, that maybe even at some point he was on the bench, right? So the fact that he can pull out in the most important moment of the year that performance is really showcasing how much of a world-class player he is. And to me, with this victory and with this MVP title that is very much deserved, I think he just put himself in the rank of the best ADC ever. You know, like I don't think you can argue against that. To be
Well, he
honest.
said after, didn't he, in his MVP speech, wasn't he saying like he's confident it shows him as the best AD in the world, which maybe is
Like
maybe getting a little bit ahead of
I,
himself after Viper's tournament, but
no, but
he's allowed that confidence in that moment, I think.
I do think Viper is very good, but and I do think he has a word to say on that best age in the world discussion, right? But the problem I see is that Viper stopped in quarterfinals, and even though it was not his fault at all, you know, he was legit 1v9 in those 4 games. Um, I still do think that you how you are ranked among the best player at your role is kind of defined by also your team performances, right? It's how it works even in sports in general, you know. Um,
So
so to
Doran
me,
is the world's best top laner.
well, no, because it's not the only thing that defined that, right? But I do think that Gumayusi these worlds was really on another dimension to me. Like, yes, Viper is probably the best ADC in the world. If you like individually, but how Gumayusi is working on a T1 roster and how clutch he is and how important he is to every of their success. Because even if you take him back to 2022, he was the MVP of the final if T1 win that game 5, you know. So yeah, in general, I do think that Guma is just. I'm not sure Viper would have done the same job as Gumayusi in that T1 roster. I do think that they don't play the game the same way too. Like Guma is much more of a weak side player than Viper is. Even though Viper can handle that role pretty well, I do think that Guma is just the best in the world when it comes to playing with low resources. Um, and also, yeah, I do think that the fact that he won 3 times in a row and that he had such an impact, and that again this series where he was MVP completely deserved. These worlds where he was the best to me. Like yeah, you can have an argument about Viper, but he stopped in quarter, so I'm not sure you can. Um, all those things combined put in, like, to me it's just the best AG ever. Like and you hear that from the voice of someone that has been kind of a Guma hater all year. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a fan of the player all year, but I have to admit right now that he is the best in the world. He is probably the best ever. Um, and the fact that Uzi is giving him that MVP trophy at the end of the final is kind of, you know, um, showcasing that too. It's like kind of a power passation. You know, he's just passing the as well as the finals MVP is passing the trophy of the best AG ever. You know, that's how I saw it actually.
It was something I was
Nice
thinking
to
about
observe.
actually, like given that core has won it 3 times in a row now, just how skewed or just like how big of an effect that's going to have on these kind of like debates now, like forever, pretty much, of who's the best in every role. Because even when like you think back to before this group of players, like Jungle, for example, like Bengi was always in that conversation because he was the one that had won two world championships. Even though people would kind of call that out and say it's ridiculous just to do it off of that. But then now you've got this group that have all won 3, excluding Faker, who's obviously got way more. But yeah, now for like Ona, Gumayusi, Kyeahoo, it's like no matter what, their names are always going to be in there now, and I guess it's just kind of personal things and on how much you kind of weight each thing on it as well. I feel like I was saying, I've just been bugging me now. I feel like I was saying Peter earlier when I was talking about perfect, so that might have not made sense what I was saying earlier, but I just wanted to clarify because I feel like I was saying that wrong. I wondered what did you guys think of the opening ceremony? Because I saw mixed opinions, and watching it on TV or like watching it on stream, I thought it looked a bit shit, and I was like a bit underwhelmed. And then I saw people at the venue be like, "Oh my god, that was incredible!" So I
Exactly.
kind of wanted to
That's
ask
the
you,
same.
Davide, what it was like in the arena. Was it really good when you were there?
So the first of all, that was like I think the venue was insane from my perspective, but I guess because I'm obviously like Jam is super famous, so that has like gave a lot of like bonus points from my side. I actually went back and watched the opening ceremony yesterday night, and I was thrown off by the audio quality, I
That's
guess.
why, like,
It
when
looked a little bit
especially
off
like
because
Gem singing, it didn't sound very good, and I was like, I don't know if
Yeah, I
is she
agree.
just not a
I do
great singer
agree.
or is it?
yeah, I think Jam was so much better live to the point where I was surprised because usually it's the other way around, right? I actually also have to go and back check the footage because I think I recorded it on camera, like on my camera. So like I was listening while taking basically the whole opening ceremony. I think it was so much better in person, especially Jam's part. Also Chris's like Costanza's part was a little bit better. I think. I think the visuals were insane. Like watching it live was just crazy.
Yeah,
Like
with the
you
songs
were
and
like
everything.
getting thrown off by stuff consistently, like from the start till the finish. I think like the Atacon part where like there's like the red stuff coming
Yeah,
out,
that looked wicked.
and then like even when there was like scenes out on the back and the rocks were being lifted up. I'm not sure if you guys saw it
Yeah,
on,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah. We
like they
saw
were
it.
like shit real rocks, and then they were tied to like a thread,
Cable.
and they were like getting
Yeah.
picked up. Um, I was a little bit questioning about Animas. I wasn't expecting him to be there like on top. I was
that's the
expecting a little
DJ
bit
guy.
something else. Yeah, the DJ guy. Um, I, I don't know. Like obviously it was great. I think he did a great job doing the whole visual concept that the like behind on screen on the display. I think that him being like there hanging a little bit was not what I expected, or not what I would expect from a DJ, I guess. Um, but aside from that, it was insane. Like
Like
I feel like the visuals from the venue, like even where you were taking photos or like taking the video, were so much better. Going back watching the VOD was a little bit unexpected, I would say. I don't want to say it was bad necessarily, just because I have the comparison, but just like I thought it was going to be like more majestic, if that's the correct term to put it. And then
yeah.
it didn't really look like to me.
I
I think
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
in comparison to the Worlds 2024 finals, I think the quality from last year's Worlds opening ceremony on video on broadcast was way higher. Like I
Yeah.
was getting the same level of excitement while I was watching it live, and then going back and watching the VOD, I guess.
Yeah, I do agree. And but I don't really agree with Lee when he says that the ceremony was shit. Like I wouldn't say it was shit. I would say it was like not the greatest. I agree. But shit is the big word to me,
I'm being
given the
hyperbolic.
performances
All
we
right,
saw.
all right.
But
Someone has
but
to
yeah,
come on.
yeah, yeah. Usually it's me actually, so okay, I'm fine. I'll give you that spot this time. But no, but the anima part was just odd to me. I don't know about you, but the fact that the whole like even the song that is kind of a bit sad, right? Even though it's like the sacrifice song is a bit sad, but the fact that it goes on that electronic electro kind of style was very hot to me, and wasn't fitting really the the world's final moment, especially because I think this part was on the introduction of the players, which actually was very bad to me too. Like I didn't like it at all,
Yeah.
the players introduction. Um, but outside of that, I loved the attack and parts. I really loved it. Even the scenography with the choreographies. I loved it a lot with both the Chris Cottonza part and the part with I don't know what's the name of the song, but the thing of Noxus and everything with Atakan. I love the choreographies, but yeah, I would say that really last year impressed me a lot more, to be honest, and also the fact that game the I don't know if you say gem or game, but the gem performance on stream wasn't looking good at all, which was very odd because I got told that she was the beautiful, like and I actually listened to a lot of her song and it was looking great, so having her not performing at their best like that was kind of odd, to be honest.
I don't know, because I feel like it was fun live.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think it
Yeah.
was that odd. I think the audio was a little bit off on the broadcast. Um, like, I'm not sure. Like, I'm obviously not an expert, but just like it felt to me like listening to in live was like way better.
I think it's just
So
where like
like
they have to
I'm not
mix
sure.
audios like differently for in the venue and that. Like I feel like some of them you can. There are some worlds where when you watch online you can like hear, because they usually would have like a live track where they're actually singing, and then they'd have like a pre-recorded one to kind of sing over at the same time, and like
Yeah,
when
there's
you're in
I don't
person
I
you
don't
don't really
think
tell the
Jen,
difference,
she's
but when you're
saying
online you like when you watch online you can really tell, and you can hear both of them coming through, and it can be off-putting and stuff. So
there was no playback though, I think.
yeah, there was no
Like it
playback
was
for her
her
part.
voice. Like
Yeah,
I know she's super good, and that's why like I appreciate it even more because I feel like some of the past artists had playbacks, if I remember
and
correctly.
even even the artists that were there at this performance, there was some that had playback, but she didn't.
Yeah. And I know she's super. Usually, she's obviously like you gotta like I appreciate her voice a lot. So like obviously not getting playback, like not having the playback and actually having to pull off that song is very hard because there's like a lot of like up and downs. You
Yeah,
have to be
true.
really good with like the voice and the tones. I think going back to something Ethan mentioned about player intros, I think yes, I completely agree. I think that was actually my biggest disappointment with this in ceremony. Like the players uh were introduced but weren't really introduced. Like I, in comparison to like World 2024, I think it's still the best one we have ever had. Like Linkin Park announcing the players, and then like the walk off was honestly insane. And then just like it
Honestly,
just felt like the players just like lifted up out of nowhere, and then they were just like walking
because
in
wasn't there a
between like
moment
as Jam
in the
was
middle of
it
the
went
singing.
song
That
where
so
was
T1
fast. It
like
went so
suddenly appeared
fast.
as well, and then did they go back, like they came out and then went back in or something?
yeah.
It was a
It
bit
took
weird because
like
on
a
broadcast when you
minute.
saw it, it just cut to them. It's like, oh shit, they're there, and then like they just disappeared again for ages, and then came back.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a minute thing, and I still think that like last year, like still think 2024 was the best one. I guess there are like some stuff about the logistics because they took a lot of space. I don't know if you guys saw, but like there
Yeah,
were like they were trying to like mimic the rock thingy, the sacrifice theme, in front of the players, and like those had like the dragon's lines, like so you had like the how do you call it, like the two teams logos, and they would like show up also like the amount of gold that each team had during the given game, and then like below them they had like the each like all the dragon signs. So like you could see, if you watched it from up above, you could see um like how the teams were doing. And because like the weird thing was that there was only one mega screen. It wasn't like the Shanghai
oh
Mercedes-Benz,
yeah,
which
yeah.
had like the four screens, or like the one that we had in London. And I think that was a little bit odd, to be honest, as well. Like the
You could
viewing
see well?
experience was fine. Like I don't see.
Could you see well? Yeah, you
Yeah,
could
I
see well.
saw. I
Okay.
saw fine, but it was just like very weird. Like I like it like I didn't think about it until like a friend like a friend of mine near like a media friend of mine was like, oh, but there's only one screen. I was like, oh yeah, actually that's true. I guess that's why it didn't really feel odd. So like I didn't really pay attention to it. But I guess from like people watching from the side, because we were basically behind the broadcasts, like the talent and the casters, and we had basically like had the direct view on the screen. It's just that we were kind of far away from it. But I think watching it from the sides, especially if you were up, was going to be a lot weirder. Like I think that the viewing experience there would probably feel a little bit different. I guess in like the return is that you get to see the players closer, you know, because obviously they're much closer to the players, but I'm not sure if that's worth the trade off.
Yeah.
But honestly, I was expecting also like I hope that we can see that again. I know that Riot is doing some cutoff on their budgets and some budgets they are allocating to events and everything. But I would love that we have an open stadium again for another Worlds, because to me this is the best experience and this is where you
What
can
do you mean open
see
stage?
In a
open like
stadium.
an open stadium. Yeah, you know,
Okay.
where you can
Oh,
see the
like
sky.
the Beijing one when they had it at the
Exactly.
Bird's Nest.
What even was
Yeah,
the
okay,
last
I get
one?
you.
Was it
2017.
the one in
2018, I think.
Korea?
Yeah. In 20
Yes, I think
in
so.
2018 was in 2018 it was in Korea, right?
The KDA one, isn't it? The KDA ceremony.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah,
last one.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, like the bird's nest unfortunately was taken by
yeah.
by Honor of
Yeah,
Kings. I know
exactly. Yeah.
there's like it's kind of crazy that you basically had like the two biggest finals when it comes to like Chinese esports in back to back in two different completely different cities. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and even
that was
madder,
a little bit
like
odd.
from a Western League point of view, that the bloody mobile one is bigger and is more
Yeah,
popular. That's crazy. Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, the other, just kind of before we round off on World specifically then as well, just wanted to mention the news that came out too. It wasn't even really announced. It was just people, I think, noticed it on the contract database that Faker's contract is updated now until 2029.
Yeah,
I
it's
had a,
been a moment
oh, is it?
that it got announced.
I had a look
It's been a
through.
yeah.
I was going to say, I was looking through the database earlier, and I don't think any other player has even got until 2028. That's just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's going to be what's that? Another 4 world titles probably by the time that finishes. And actually, the whole rest of the T1 roster, I think apart from Owner, is all out of contract this year. So it could be like the same thing as last year again now, where there's like all the drama about does the roster break up and do they all re-sign and whatnot. So we'll see how that goes.
Wasn't Carry also going until 2026? I think it was both Owner and Keria, and then Guma and Doran had a 1-year contract.
I
Let me
can
double check.
tell you
They're
right now.
still open.
Off the top of my head, it was like
Oh no,
two
yeah,
of them
you're
were
right.
2026.
It's because
Okay,
they've got
yeah.
it mixed in with the academy players, so I think I just misread the line. So actually, yeah, it's maybe I'll recheck all of them now because I might have got any wrong. Yeah, Doran definitely is out of contract, and Gumayusi as well. Well, so 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5 locked in. That's not.
But I think there are some rumors that Smash will join an LTA team for next year. So if you get rid of Smash, I don't expect you to get rid of Gumayusi as well, you know. And especially after that final, it would make much sense, to be honest. And even after that, these worlds in general.
Because also the
So
thing
I
with,
still think like
I was gonna say the
there's
thing I
like
think
the
with
whole
most of the
discussion.
players or most other teams that could be going for like any T1 players now, like I feel like they're all going to be thinking of the salary cap that they've got in the LCK too, like on the cap on like the overall salary of the team, which T1 gets away with more because the players have been there for years, and then that kind of like reduces the amount it goes towards the salary cap. So like looking at how much these players would be getting paid now, T1 might be the only team that could pay it, but also can get is like allowed to pay that as much as they'll be offering through the rules as well. Whereas other teams are starting from fresh, so they'll have to like allocate more of it to their salary cap. So that might play a
But
part. As
isn't there a rule? Isn't there a rule in the salary cap in Korea that says that if you won 2 worlds or something that
Yeah.
you
That
so
also does.
so
So they would all be like reduced to other teams as well. But I
yeah.
don't know if it stacks up then. Maybe if it doesn't stack, then maybe it won't be. But there is also meant to be a thing that it gets reduced if they've been there for 3 years. I don't know. Maybe it would do either or and wouldn't stack both. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah.
Um.
Do you
Anyway,
guys think
I don't think
when was it?
they have a point in changing anything. To be honest, I think they will just
Yeah.
stay like that next year.
My question is, do you guys think they run it back?
I imagine so. If
What do you
they
mean?
they wanted to
Like they won worlds again? That they win worlds again?
No, they run it back as in like they
the
run the
roster.
same roster.
Yeah, I do think. Yeah, as I said, I don't think it makes much sense to change anything. To be honest.
Yeah.
Actually, when you win worlds, why would you change something? I even think KT actually would have a
You
fair
should
point
ask
in changing.
DRX about it.
Yeah, but it's not the same. It's because they couldn't afford it actually, because every team was willing
know,
to take their players.
Just while I
Every
still have the
biggest team, you know?
database up, you know who's out of contract now as well? Certain top laner.
Viper.
A certain top laner that's won
King.
worlds a couple of times.
Certain Zeus then.
Zeus. Get Zeus back. Put them all back together. It's possible.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's another team that can afford him as well, you know? Maybe T1 again. You think about T1?
That's what I'm saying. Get back on.
Actually, I do think that Doran, even though, actually, okay, so I have to be fair with him. He played well his role of weak side during the tournament. But honestly, let's be honest, guys, because I saw a lot of praise about his performance and everything. But honestly, he wasn't outstanding at all. Let's be real, you know. Like, I do think that if you put any top 5 Korean or Chinese top laner, maybe he would have done like not entirely the same job. Maybe Doran did very well, and also I think the synergy kind of grew up very well with the team, but he would have not been that much different to me. He wasn't the focal point of this T1 roster anyway, you know.
I guess just
I
maybe.
don't know, I feel like there's always that eye test. Like the impression to me is like Doran actually did a pretty decent job. Off the top of my head, I was like, after watching game 1 of the finals, I was like, okay, so Doran decided he wants to win it, because like he literally 1v9 in that Ambessa game.
Yeah.
I think
Actually,
it was probably
Ambessa is his best champion by far. I do think so.
Yeah, but like the whole thing for me was like, oh, I'm actually surprised he pulled off that one. Like having the confidence to just like go in and like press R every time he wants to. And I think T1 did a really great job in giving Dorans that confidence. Like the impression is to me is like, oh, they just tell him like, we'll cover for you. If you want to do plays, go for plays, just go for it. Don't worry about it, and then we'll adjust based on what happens.
Yeah.
And I think if you do that consistently over time, that will allow Doran to also find his own like dimension. And because like you said, Ethan, he's always been the weak side player, like kind of like, oh, I'll do my own job, but like I'll let carry or owner make the calls or like make the plays. You know, we've seen that basically T1 do it for the last 3 years, especially carrier, like on Bard, Nico, Pike, whatever, all those kind of champions. And to me, the one thing that stood out was like the way Doran decided to like on Camille on the champions he needs to go on, or like he needs to be proactive with. He was always willing to do it, and I think
A bit
in
too much
such an
sometimes.
important.
A bit too much
But
sometimes
yeah,
with
of
this
course,
carry.
but like I think in league when that happens is like when you have such a big confidence and you're willing to make goals for the risky plays, that's when the plays come out. So you don't have to be scared of it. Like I think it's more of a mental game rather than mechanics. Like the mechanics will come eventually. Like at that level of play, the mechanics are there. It's just that I guess when you kind of play champions like Camille that you need to like fully commit yourself on, it's like you either look like the best player in the world or you look like you're like an intern basically.
Yeah.
And I think like T1 did. I think T1's coaching staff. I don't know. It's whether the players, the coaching staff, just gave like clearly did something with Doran, and trying to convince him that that's how he should play. Because I think it's very far different with how he used to be as a player. Like there's always been the talks that Doran was the weak side player in the LCK that occasionally shows up when you never when you don't expect it.
Against Zeus usually.
Yeah, but it's like there were like a couple of other instances, but you just never knew when it happened. And now it feels like, oh, this guy can do his own job pretty fairly well. Obviously, maybe he's not like a keen level of carry potential, but I think he has found a little bit like that extra factor that makes him a more complete player to me, at least.
Yeah, and I do agree.
So
Actually, I'm not saying he was bad or anything. I do think that he deserved that trophy. Even though I do think I do think that another player would have made the job. I do think that not any other player would have made the job. Of course, I do think that you at least have to have a top tier top laner, and the one is part of those top tier top laner. Like I think about top 5. I just don't think that he 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 has both the playstyle and the potential to carry a game as much as a Zeus, a Keen, even a Flandre when it comes to playing weak side. I do think those players have a stronger point in carrying games for their teams than Doran. Than to me, even though he played decently, wasn't like outstanding at all compared to his teammates.
Mhm.
Well, still, at the end of the day, after they won Worlds last year and they were looking at the bits on the roster, and one player left in dramatic circumstances, and we all thought, what's going to happen now? Well, now T1 proved it. They can still win Worlds even after Reckless left. So that's they proved it at the end of the day, haven't they? Okay, so moving on from Worlds 2025, there were some announcements for next year as well. Not just Worlds, to be fair. So Worlds is heading to Texas and New York. And then we had some updates on First Stand as well, that it's going to be expanded to 8 teams.
Yeah.
And all
With
best
top
of
2 from
fives,
Korea and LPL.
Yeah, so top 2. So the extra 3 spaces are, 1 extra for LCK and LPL, and then a space each for LCS and CB LoL, now that those are like totally separated out again. And then what was it about the best of 5s? I'm forgetting this as it's scrolling down.
It's BO5s across the entire tournament.
Oh, really? Oh, I haven't saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good news.
Every
Actually.
series. Yeah.
And
I'm not sure
in
it's a good
Like
news.
I'm wondering how they will fix, because I feel like it could turn out to be like like a single elimination bracket kind of thingy. Like
Yeah,
I'm not
it
sure
will be longer than a
how
week, no? It will be longer than a week then, no? With 8
no,
teams and only BO5s.
It was confirmed to be March 16 to 22nd, I think.
So it's, like
Okay,
a week.
so still a week.
So it's still a
I mean, 2
week.
best of 5s a day.
I'm just could be. I mean, I guess some of the days could have 2 best of 5s. I'm not sure, but obviously I think first time getting more teams is probably the best news that come out of 2026, because I think it was a little bit lackluster this year.
Yep.
Just like I think having more teams always does a better job, because it opens up for new stories, new narratives, new interactions.
And honestly, it's even more competitive, right? Because this year we only
Yeah, of
had
course. Yeah.
HLE that was the best team, and they were just rolling over every team. But if you had Genji there, maybe it would have been closer for them, or something.
Yeah, I guess it makes it just a little bit less boring, because like obviously I think we all agree that like SDK is a tier above, so like getting more teams could potentially shake up stuff in a way that probably you wouldn't happen had we gone with another 5-team tournament this year, like next year, sorry. But yeah, kind of crazy to see how it will play out in Brazil. I'm very interested to see how, because like obviously we always talk about how passionate the Brazil fans are. I kind of want to see what will happen in the venue.
Is it the first
it's
time? Is it the
like-
first time we have an international event in Brazil?
Wasn't there an MSI?
I think there was an MSI somewhere in
Maybe
South
a long
America.
time ago, no?
2017.
Yeah, yeah. So it's been a while.
It's been a long time anyway, and I think like LoL esports in South America has changed a lot over the years. So definitely, like it will be interesting to see how that
and it's
plays
been
out.
centralized in Brazil actually right now.
Yeah,
So
it will be interesting. Obviously, like CBLOL getting their own team will definitely be a big bonus because like at least they're guaranteed to get one.
And it's nice after the whole shit show of LTA and LTA happening right as CBL was like getting more and more popular as well, and then they just kind of fucked it by removing the branding and everything. So it's going to be like a nice way to sort of win back the fans a bit, I think, probably from Brazil, and kind of get a positive vibe going again there, maybe. Until the Brazilian
I mean,
team
like
crashes and
VKS
burns.
did. I think VKS did a pretty good job at showing up. Like I think they performed a little bit above the expectations I set for like the Brazilian teams at Worlds. It's just sad that obviously like Trim is probably not going to be there next year based on the rumors that we've been going for, and we can talk about it later. But I know that Miru, the mid, like the mid, has resigned, so that's a really good positive. I think he was a very vital part to the team's success. Obviously, there are like going to be a lot of other Brazilian teams out there, but I think the level is rising up. Like I feel like the gap is closing a little bit everywhere. Fearless Draft probably has a little bit of effect, but just like generally speaking, it makes it more entertaining overall.
There was a bit of
yeah, it's
controversy.
closing everywhere, but
Oh, go on.
no, go ahead. I was saying it's closing everywhere, but for us, like the West and Asia is never gonna close. I feel like even with Fearless, we had some hope, but still we get rolled by Top Esports that after that get completely smoked by T1. So it's
Bro, what do you
kind
mean?
of.
There's SK. SK will fucking
Oh
roll
yeah,
at the
you're
LEC next year.
right. You're right. Leader will just go to first end and destroy Chovy. I completely forgot about that. With his Yasuo mid, for sure, it will destroy him. No, but actually, maybe we will see Los Ratones in Brazil or what? Or maybe KCB.
Fucking hell. No, yeah, Kamalu will be there with
yeah,
KCB.
sure.
Kamalu and Leader, the LEC representative. Oh no, well it's only one in it. Yeah, never mind. But yeah, so one thing that was a bit controversial then about Worlds next year. So it's going to Texas and New York, only 2 locations, whereas usually it would be 3, and sometimes there's been 4, where it would be like groups in one place, and then quarterfinals, and semi-finals, and then the grand final. Clearly, like this year's Worlds, I think showed that there are like the effort will be to condense it. I'd imagine it's going to be the same as this year, where you had the quarterfinals straight into semi-finals. Especially if you are going to be not moving venues, then they'd be paying, like if they had a couple of, even if it's just 2 or 3 days break, if they're in the same place, they're basically going to have to book out a venue for these days that are going to have no stuff going on as well. And when it's quarterfinals and semi-finals, I'd imagine they'd be looking at like slightly bigger arenas where you wouldn't want to be paying for it to be empty for 3 days. So my guess would be that it's going to be a similar formatting as this year, which obviously people didn't like too much. I'm not sure it's like an inherent issue that it's only in 2 places though. Like just the fact it doesn't go to as many areas, I guess it's like, to me that doesn't seem a massive issue really. Like most esports events are in one place. Like it's kind of lucky to get something that moves around. I guess it's a bit different with League, where there's maybe not as many events as like something like Counter-Strike, for example. But I don't know. I wasn't like that peeved. I guess it's in 2 places. Then again, I'm not in like America, and I think people there also get a bit annoyed that when stuff is in NA, it's even like 3 places and nowhere else for the most part. But
maybe they had some constraints about like the fact that there's the football World Cup next year too in US. Maybe it played a part. I don't know because I'm not sure it's in. I don't think it's the exact same time, right?
yeah, it shouldn't cross over at
But
all. I don't. Yeah, you
yeah,
never know.
I'm not sure.
I think there are a couple of considerations to be made. Some of the learnings can also be applied from this year. So obviously, like I talked to Chris Greeley last weekend. He said that obviously the alternative would have been LA Riot Games Arena into
Please no.
Texas into
Please no.
NYC. No, like he literally said that that was the alternative, and that they thought it like the arena was too small, so they found a way to make it to find a deal with the Texas venue, and make sure that it can basically like host the entire tournament. I actually don't think that's could be I'd say a disadvantage or like a bad thing for viewer perspective, because obviously it would mean that fans would have to travel across the country to get there, like even just like Americans, right? But on the other hand, I think from a logistics point of view, it's so much better
But it must save
because
us unbelievable amount of money to not have to
it
move
saves us
everything and all
so
their
much. It
staff
saves
3
so
times.
much money, and it makes it a lot better for teams to adjust. Because like even like from Beijing to Shanghai, just like picture T1. Okay, I'm trying to think who played. So HLE and Genji played on first day. Who was it on second day? Do you guys remember?
HLE Genji first day and then ALT1.
KT CFO.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Okay.
KT
Yeah.
CFO, and then T1 Top Esports. So just picture
No,
CFO. Okay.
no. It was KT CFO, then G2
G2
TES,
test, yeah.
and then
G2 test and
AL
T1
T1.
AL. Okay. Just picture CFO side. Okay. CFO played on the second day. That was Thursday. They had their last match on Sunday in the Swiss stage. You gotta count they had probably they needed 1 day to travel to Shanghai, half a day, and then 1 day for media day, because that's kind of like what happens. So like CFO only got probably like 2 days of screen time because they had to move.
And we kind of
If
saw
you can,
it. We kind of saw the
yeah,
problem during the match.
if you think about it in hindsight, like it's coming back to me. It's like I feel like they got screwed over a little bit by the scheduling. Like they were
Yeah.
probably the team that got screwed the most, because like uh obviously like how Live Gen G2 like all had one extra day, because they basically after they got the 3-1 win they could like leave. T1 got put on the last day on Friday,
Whoa,
and
how
then
weird is it?
KT and Top Esports. I mean, yeah, viewership, man. And then T1 and like Top Esports and KT were like free from the first week.
Yeah.
You know, obviously they probably didn't move to Shanghai immediately, but like, they obviously had more flexibility over there. So I think like having everything in one place could like benefit the teams a lot more,
But will it
and
be in the
obviously it
same
makes it.
place? Will it be in the same like arena, or they will change
Yeah.
arena from? Oh, okay.
No, I think it's in the same arena for like from play-ins till semis.
Okay, so
Uh,
semis are played in New
no,
York, or
only
it's only
finals
final?
in
Only final.
only
Okay.
finals in OSC. So I think overall it's like it will benefit the teams. It will benefit Riot in making content with the teams, because like they will have it will be a lot easier to to organize. It's like in Shanghai they had to like go to the main locations like in the city center, like how like AL, Genji, and Life I think had to shoot like in the Bun, which is like literally the city center. I had to like basically carve out areas in the main streets. And something that some people were not like, I guess, complaining about, but like we're a little bit surprised was the lack of the use of uh I think
CGI,
CGI,
CGU
yeah,
and
CGI
AGI,
in
yeah.
the hype, in the trailer, and that I think was because there was a little bit constrained of by the, you know, uh, the lack of breaks, and I guess also probably just like not being easy to host everything at the same time, because there was also the fan fest. There was like a lot of activations in the city center, um, and it was kind of crazy. Like, I don't know if you guys
I saw some
saw.
videos, yeah. The
No,
World
no, no, no.
Village and everything.
Yeah, but like at the fan fest was like in the city center. It's like in the center area of Chengdu, and during the on the was it, yes, on the last day prior to the final, there was a show match with Uzi
Oh, really?
in the city center, like that was kind of like open. Apparently, like people, like normal people, like normal fans could get in as long as they had like a reservation kind of thingy. And we had the round table with rioters, and by the time that finished, the show match started. I got out of the building. Like, the show match was taking the same place we had our round table. Basically, there's just like two different floors. By the time we ended, the show match started. So like people were already watching Uzi on in like in the floor, but there were like fans waiting outside of the building. And by the time I got out, there were two big crowds on the sides, and security is all over the place. That's how crazy it was. Like, just imagine had players like T1 players or like KD players be shooting around the city. How would that end up being? Like, in terms
Yeah.
of like how much security you need to have, uh, and also could potentially be dangerous. So I think that there's like some part of it that's not just, oh, Riot didn't want to go into the streets. It's
Yeah.
just that the fandom is so crazy that it becomes like a, I don't want to say hazard, but just whenever you have so many fans gathering in one place, it becomes really hard for even like for the camera crew or like the staff to just move around things, unless you completely close off the area.
Yeah. I
And
had a
unless they do
question.
it, like in a place that's like there's no one. But I don't think there's a place that like that in Chengdu, unless you like drive 3 hours away from from the city center, like with the pandas, for example.
I would have loved to see the panda in the video, to be honest. Like, but yeah, I wanted to know, like, with all that money they're saving, I hope at least the final is in the Madison Square Garden, right? Like, I don't know if they
Surely
announced
it's
it
gotta
yet.
be.
No, no,
It's
no
not gonna
news
be it?
about it.
No, they just
Oh,
haven't
I'm
okay.
not
announced it.
sure. I'm not sure. They didn't announce it.
Ah, okay, okay. No, because if they save all that money, they make everything in Texas in maybe a smaller venue or something, and they don't put
But
the
I think
final in the
like
Madison Square Garden, I'm gonna be very, very mad.
I think like Chris, I'm I'm trying to go by memory, but he mentioned like, or someone mentioned online that like the venue, if it's the venue that they use, it's probably going to host like a couple of thousand people.
Like in
So
Texas.
obviously that's going to be, yeah, that's going to be like
Okay,
way better than whatever Riot Games arena would host. So
okay, okay.
if those arenas get sold, like the venue gets not like sold out, but like gets a good capacity, like a good percentage retention in terms of how many people are filled out, I think that's going to be net positive
Yeah.
for Riot. Because obviously also like ticket prices, I would assume, are going to be way higher than the ones that we had in China.
And
Because obviously it's
yeah.
America and
Aside from
pricing.
aside from like local people that, like, if you just get lucky and the event ends up being somewhere near you, aside from like the downside of having that be less likely when it's only in 2 places, I don't really see any other. I don't really see any other downside, to be honest, because I feel like for almost everyone involved, it's definitely anyone like involved in like a working capacity. It's definitely easier for it to be in one place. Like not even just for Riot. If you think like media like us, way easy. Like if it's a shorter tournament in general, for starters, it's obviously way cheaper to go and stay in a hotel for 2 weeks rather than 3 weeks, especially if 5 days in the middle are days where there's nothing happening and it's like harder to have work in those days to do stuff as well. But then the thing I saw even about fans traveling to it and saying like, oh well, it's easier for fans to travel to one place rather than 2 places. I don't know how realistic it is that you'd get people that would actually go to like every location anyway. Like if you're a fan, you probably you try and go for a couple of days, especially if you're going to travel. You reckon people go the whole thing?
That doesn't work. Let me tell you, I know people who traveled all the way like from Beijing to Chengdu. Like fandom here is crazy. Like people are willing to like literally move across. Like if the team, like for example, like they would like I know that some T1 fans literally watch from Beijing till the end.
Fair enough.
Like they would show up.
Well, by the
guess
sounds
in
of things, they
China's-
would show up if it's 3 or 2 places anyway, so don't make a difference. just to their
No,
just
for
to their
sure,
wallets slightly, I guess.
Yeah, I guess like my biggest question now will be like how expensive will be, for example, stay in America. Like
Yeah.
for some people, it will be a little bit too prohibitive in that sense, especially compared to like China. Like Arsh from Neyman was super surprised that like everything, like all the prices that we we had in China in terms of whether that was accommodation, food, whatever, like anything. And I think that will not apply when you fly over to the United States, unfortunately. So that would be, something to figure out. And I think like LA in terms of prices is probably the highest of all. So you gotta wonder whether that also played something in, attracting people to come and watch games. Because obviously like NYC will be crazy expensive, I would assume. Even if you go just there for a weekend.
Yeah.
But if you do like 2 weeks in LA, if you're like a fan, would you actually have the budget to like stay there for like 2 weeks straight?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you want to go and buy a box of eggs. Apparently, the price still didn't come down as promised.
Holy.
Anyway, I would urge people to read the interview with Chris Greeley or listen to it because there's a few interesting bits in there actually. One thing that's quite funny, like there's a couple of times in it where you're asking him about stuff, like things that have changed over the years, and then there's like a couple of times where they go like, oh well, I used to think this, but actually now I think this. Like talking about Fearless, and he's like, I used to not like Fearless, now I really like it. We used to not like third-party events, now we really like them. And I was thinking, well, the things that you say you don't want to do now, then can we just wait 5 years and see your opinion then? Because one thing that you asked him about was the chances of franchising being pulled back, and he didn't seem keen on that. But then again, we've kind of the steps that are happening slowly feels like, and to be fair, it probably is the case. I'd imagine that Riot would prefer these days not to have franchising. Obviously, it's not very easy for them to revert any of that.
I think Artem Baikov, the LEC commissioner, talked about it with Tolkien in his interview recently, and he said that like even though people were pointing out the fact that we're leaning towards that direction of the end of franchising with all the stuff that they are changing with the accession from ERL to LEC and everything, he said that it was not in their plan at all. But again, like their plans may shift, so you never really know what's their plan anyway. Right?
That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like it's hard, even if they wanted to. Like I don't know how they could plan it because of the difficulty of having to pay back the teams and agree how much to pay back when like whoever Heretics paid 27 million and that.
If you're just devaluing the spot like they are doing, right? Like opening the league, even if it's like only for a split, it's devaluing the spot. The spot worthless, right? So I guess that's their way of kind of having to pay less to buy the slot in the end. But yeah.
Especially if it, especially if it was the Los Ratones Invitational, and literally the name on the tournament is a non-franchise team. God, I can't believe that's still even a thing. But there. Another thing as well. He said you asked him about the Asia games, and he like hinted that there'd be, or not even hinted. I'm pretty sure he said that they were hoping to do more things like that, of like more of these inter-regional things. It's interesting how they explained it as well, actually, that
The Asian Games or the Asian Invitational?
Asian
The Asian
Invitational, sorry.
right?
Yeah. That the way he explained it was kind of like they already maybe had the plan to do it as a broader thing or do more of these tournaments, but they did that as the first one as like a tester, really. But like seemed very keen to do more of it. And yeah, I think the thing he did hint at was like maybe like he wasn't too clear on what on like what alternatives there'd be. So whether it be like an Asia Invitational and then like NA and EU tournament on the side, or like he kind of hinted that it could be even just a broader thing of like like a mini world basically of the lesser teams. So that was quite interesting. That reminded me something of another.
He didn't really go into specifics. The one thing I'll have to say is that it gave me the impression that if something like that were to happen, I'm not sure whether it would be a Riot directly shouldering like the costs and the burden of doing that competition. Like he said, obviously they're like leaning more towards third party tournament organizers, which is
I wonder
definitely
if there's
great.
a third party
But, like,
that would
in
be
this
happy
case,
to run more tournaments for Riot.
Of course they will.
I mean, like Asia Invitational, the thing was that it was run by Huya, which is like a streaming platform, and obviously they get all the benefits from streaming on their own platform. I doubt we'll get like a Twitch Invitational. Or something like that, of that sort. Like, you know, obviously from our perspective would be great. I'm just like thinking where it would be, like how it would fit the schedule, because like next year we're also going to have Esports Nation Cup. There's like Asian games as well. There's like already tons of stuff that's not like necessarily related to clubs, or like just like tier one ecosystem. But yeah, like I'm pretty excited, I guess. Like Asian Invitational was great. I loved it.
I do hope that, because I also saw another interview of him like on Twitter or something where he said that like as you said, Lee, and as you said in your interview, Davide, that he wasn't really excited by the perspective of national competitions.
Esports
Yeah,
Insider,
national.
that one. I just got that up now because I was trying to remember where I saw that quote.
Yeah, and he said that he wasn't really excited like about it a few years ago, but now he is. So it's really funny that everything is kind of hitting him back right now.
Yeah, the quote, I think nation-based competitions are super interesting. There was a time where I thought they didn't make a lot of sense, but I've come round to it a lot. So, like 3 different things. So yeah, just look for his interviews to see what he says he doesn't like right now. And then
maybe in 5 years come back.
exactly, and that's how we know what's coming down the line. But yeah, because to be fair, there was a whole mess with the like the Olympic Committee breaking up from the Saudi efforts. I check on James Fudge's coverage of that because of really interesting stuff there. But by the sounds of things, at least like Chris Greeley saying he has like no idea what's happening, because that's still the thing. Like the Olympics still want to do esports, and you'd presume there would be talks with Riot to have League potentially in it, even if it doesn't happen in the end. But he actually says, it was kind of an odd quote. He goes, I don't know what the IOC, so the International Olympic Committee, I don't know what the IOC is thinking about where they want to take esports going forwards. And I can't find the part of the quote, actually. Maybe never mind. But he says in there, like, I've not spoken to them. I don't know if somebody else at Riot is speaking to them. which is a bit of a weird thing to say when you're the head of League of Legends esports. That you maybe one of my colleagues is speaking to them, and I don't know. So yeah, but we'll see. See what happens there.
Yeah,
so
I
yeah,
think GIOC is completely stuck right now. I hope they find a way out, because honestly, I think an Olympic esports event will be insane. But right now, I think they're kind of stuck, and I don't think they had put any effort in the making of this Olympic esports games since they announced it, you know. And now they are kind of postponing it because they need obviously more time to prepare such a big thing, especially if they want to do it well and not just have a Just Dance tournament at the event, you know. So yeah.
I mean, what do you mean? We're going to get virtual taekwondo.
tic tac
Oops.
toe, whatever it is. Tic tac bow. Yeah, of that guy who's like on the Olympic committee who literally has like a stake in the company that makes those games and got awarded with the licenses for those games at the Olympics, the games that didn't exist before his company made them for the Olympics. Yeah, nothing dodgy there. All right, let's move on to some other news then. A few interesting things coming out of Sheep Esports this week. Well, this first one actually started with the Korean broadcast of, I think it was the final of Worlds, where Caster Jun, the like legendary Korean commentator, there was a quote from in like his cast mid game that went around and did the rounds on Twitter, where he'd said something along the lines of like, "Oh, we wonder what the coaches must be thinking right now," something like that, or what the coaches would want to say to the players. And then he said it will be interesting next year where I can't remember the exact wording, but it basically like was a massive hint that next year coaches will be able to talk to players during the game. And then everyone on Twitter was a bit confused, like, is that what he's like? Is he really saying that? And obviously it's like a translated quote, so maybe something's been lost in translation, because this is a very odd place for this to suddenly be leaked, especially by like such a legendary person who's like clearly very professional, and just seemed weird that it would be kind of just dropped in a mid cast like that. Well, Sheep Esports have had a report on it since, saying that there had been an internal email going around within Riot, basically asking for feedback on the idea of having coaches be able to talk to the players. So what the idea is at the moment, apparently according to this email, was that it would be 45-second windows that would allow the coaches to talk to their players for 45 seconds, and would happen 3 times per game, or would be allowed up to 3
Okay,
times
so
per game.
Fnatic next year will be LEC champions.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing as well that maybe is not clear on it yet is like exactly, and what they're trying to get feedback on supposedly in like their internal feelers is exactly how it would work. So is it like a full-on timeout, or is the game still going but you're just allowed to talk while the players are going? So like that doesn't seem to have been decided yet. But at the very least, Riot seem keen on opening it up so that coaches can talk to their players. What do you guys reckon on
And
that?
it will also mean that the coaches have to see only the POV from their team, right? If they want to
True. That's a good
like
point, actually.
talk with them only during the while the game is still going.
There's a pink on the pixel
Honestly,
booth. Yeah.
yeah. Honestly, I do think that it's like I saw a lot of bad reaction to it. Like people are kind of reticent, I get, but I'm not sure I do. I'm kind of hyped about it, to be honest. I think it's a good add-on for coaches to have more impact on the game. Like I think like the game is leaning anyway towards the direction that coaches have more impact, because we used to have coaches that would only have impact on practice, right? Even in drafts, you have your draft ready, like your pattern of drafts before, like it won't change that much outside of a few picks, you know, before Fearless Draft happened. So now we have Fearless Draft, and now we have this maybe new add-on, and it's leaning toward that direction where coaches just have take more place and more space in the like performance of a team, right? Not only backstage, right? So I do think it's a good thing. I think it will also put more weight into having coaches that know a lot about the game and that will give good indications, to their teams. And yeah, to me, it's a great assets, and I do think that we need that, especially when you look at the FPS games like CS or Valorant. They all have timeouts, right? So the fact that League didn't have one was like kind of uh, an outlier, in some way. So yeah, honestly, I'm kind of hyped about it. I don't think it's weird or something. It depends on how they do it, right? And I also think the first thing they said was like the future will be they have 3 timeouts of 45 seconds for each games. I think I'm not sure about that, but I saw that it was about 3 timeouts in of 45 seconds, right? So the thing is, if each team has 3 timeouts of 45 seconds per games, and they just pause the game whenever there's a timeout, damn, games are gonna be long, man.
Yeah,
It's gonna be long, and it's gonna be a bit too much,
I
maybe.
feel like they surely couldn't do it like a full timeout where the game's paused. Is that all? I feel
Mm.
like you can abuse it so easy. Like it's different in like Valorant and CS where it's like clearly defined rounds, so you do a
Round
timeout
base. Yeah.
at the end of a round,
Yeah,
and then there's nothing happening at that point, so it's fine. But like in League, it could be like you could just abuse timeouts, like to just do it in like the most annoying situations. It would be like bloody in football, like managers doing like 3 substitutions back to back in the 90th minute to try and stop the momentum. Like it'd be like, okay,
exactly.
Yeah.
we just
Yeah.
lost a fight, and this team's gonna go and do Drake. Let's quickly do a timeout, just to put them off a bit and break up the rhythm. So I feel like it just
I
couldn't
wonder.
be timeouts.
Yeah.
I wonder how like the whole thing will work out, because to me, timeouts would be interesting. I think if it were like the three chances of talking for 45 seconds, timeouts would be kind of crazy, because like you said, you can literally abuse it. I don't think that would be good for like competitive reasons, unless there's like given, I don't know, like, because to me it would be like, oh, like you get 45 seconds each 10 minutes, okay, for example, or something like that. Like how, like what if like something is happening at the game like for like 10 minutes straight, and you cannot like pause the game or like do stuff like that. I don't think that's possible. But also at the same time, I wonder how much of an impact a coach would have when the players are already talking to one another in game, and on top of that you have another voice. Like it just becomes very messy to me. Like comms already super messy. Like if I watch some of the LPL team comms, it's like everyone shouting their own thing. And it's obviously like it's not obviously going to be like 24/7, but if you do that in a very like heated game where you constantly need to give info, what what kind of info can realistically a coach give? Um, and also like I'm also thinking about, does that in my head, like I think it was LS, like he went on a little bit of a hyperbolic saying that it was like, oh, this thing would not work in like 99% of the cases. I'm not going to be that exaggerated, but I also think it's not going to be that big of a scope. Like it's the situations where the coach coming in telling the players what to do will be like the effect will be marginal.
I do
I'm
think that
obviously I'm not
uh,
against it, of course, but I'm just saying like I don't think it will be that much of a difference. It's like it, it always gives you the impression that players will you cannot bash the players while they're in game, because you're going to fuck their mental literally.
yeah, but on another note, you can
But
also like fix their mental. Imagine like the comms are being very messy, or someone is giving horrible calls and everyone's following him, or someone doesn't want to speak because he's tilted, or anything like that, which actually happens a lot in competitive environments when things don't go well or something. Then you have a coach that can, calm things down or just put the ideas of the players back in place. Like we know they are
but
very matures, right? They are very young and stuff. So sometimes I think you can have a lot of moments where comms are not going well or the team is not having the good decision making for like maybe 2 or 3 times in a row, and then you have a coach that can come and just like say, guys, just take a deep breath and think more. I
Yeah,
think
but that's my issue. That's my issue, Ethan. Like that only like I feel like those only work out when you actually have timeouts, because you can actually like listen carefully. Like in Valorant, it works because it will be the IGL or the coach talking to the players and telling them like, oh, like if someone is not playing, not doing their role, it's just like take a chill, deep breath, and you go. If there's no timeout, I don't think the player will react as positively as it would happen in another game. That's what I'm trying to say. Because like if I'm just trying to get it from a player perspective, it's like, oh, I'm playing bad, and then someone will be like trying to calm me down. But I feel like it makes the player more self-aware in game of their own mistakes.
yeah, that's
Or
a
like
possibility. I think it depends on how you
or
manage
like
it, to be honest.
what's if he gets called out, for example, not saying like we don't even have to question whether that's being put in a good way, because like sometimes you can it's also the way you phrase stuff can also be important, right? It just gives me the impression that it won't, as a player, for example, I'm trying to focus on my gameplay, and then someone on top of me tells me that I'm not doing something great. Okay, uh, how will that may affect my gameplay? You know, it's something, and I guess that's also kind of a way to test out players' mental. You know, in contrast, it's like players with strong mental that are able to like take criticism, or like are able to handle the pressure while being that in those situations will definitely thrive, I think. But on the other hand, I think most of the players might not have that going on for them, because obviously it's a super stressful environment. You get to play literally the entire season. Like a lot of teams had, like, I'm just like thinking off the top of my head, like TL, like this year, the struggles that they had, like it was never fixed, you know. Otherwise, they probably would have made it to Worlds, because I don't think 100 Thieves, even though they played decently at Worlds, they weren't like that strong. It's just that TL shit the bed, honestly.
Even as
Relative
well.
to the players they had, I guess. I mean, like Quid did an insane job, but it was like mainly just Quid and River, from my perspective. That really stepped up. Uh,
I
I
feel like I'm
guess I
seeing
want
a
to see how it plays out.
yeah. I'm
I
kind
want
of
to see how it
imagining
plays
it
out.
differently. I'm getting flashbacks of like when you're at school and you can do an exam and you're allowed to get like 1 page of notes, and then you just write as much stuff as you can really small. Like I'm imagining like if I was a coach, I'd be thinking right like in minute 23, Baron's coming up, and it's going to be the game deciding Baron potentially. So okay, that's coming up at minute 23. Maybe at 22:45, I start. This only works obviously if it's not a timeout. If it's just you can talk during the game. And I'm thinking, okay, 22:45, I'm starting my 45 seconds, and then I'm just going to micromanage my team through the whole fight. I'm going to okay, mid, sit on mid and keep prio on mid for a second. Support, push up behind here, put a ward here, put a ward here. This guy's showing here. This guy's going to be here. This guy's TPing now. Now that could be like a complete clusterfuck and not work completely. But if you've got like depending on the coach, especially like these Korean coaches that are all like half of them are like old legendary players, that will know their shit. I feel like you could get a massive advantage using it that way, rather than doing it as like a team talk kind of thing of like trying to set people straight as well. So I guess it depends on obviously on the coach and how they'd want to use it and how the timeouts would actually work. One thing I think is kind of interesting with it is that it's always been a bit of a thing with coaches from like a public perspective, that it is very hard outside of like just draft. It can be really hard to see the positive effects that a coach has anyway. Like it's really hard to tell from from public, like who is actually a good coach a lot of the time, because you don't see
Yep.
99.9% of the work they're doing. Presuming that or seeing that like voice comm stuff gets put on like clips and gets shared out, you'd imagine if this was happening, then this would be shared. Like there would be clips of it that would go around as well, and you'd actually be able to see directly how the coach is like having an impact on the game as it's going on. So I think from that point of view, it's pretty interesting, especially if you do get ones that can use it more like strategically, of like actually using their game knowledge, and you'd be able to actually show it and see that clearly, and then you'd be able to see when there's coaches who never do that, and like probably hinting at the fact that they don't quite have the in-game knowledge. Not that would make them
And
bad
especially
coach,
because I think there's also a hint that say that maybe we will, like, the audience will get to hear
yeah.
what the coaches are saying to the players, and that would be actually quite insane. Like, I would love it, you know.
I would love it as well, and which is why I'm wondering whether that will actually work out. Because, like, in the LPL, like IG did comms where basically like Danny can also talk, but like they always bleep out all the stuff that he's saying. Obviously, they get control of what the comms are, because obviously it's their own team comms. But I wonder whether that actually, like, for example, like the LEC will actually push out, the like coach comms. There's one thing I wanted to add. My thing is still wondering, like, to me 45 seconds, for example, seems a really long window, but at the same time a really short one. Like, for example, if you only have to like give macro orders in that sense of what the team should do in a given, like, for the next 20 minutes, or like 5 minutes, I don't think that should take a lot if you already used to those talks in practice. If you were to actually micromanage everything, it would be kind of crazy to do from a coach perspective. And
Yeah,
the
and
other thing
especially
for me,
imagine if a fight breaks out, right? Like what happens? The coach is in the
yeah,
comms and saying, "Yeah, you should focus
I
this
don't think
guy." Like, what?
actually, I actually don't think the coach will be focusing on the team fights. That will just be actually like something that I think will be, for example, super useful on will be like ward placement. So like, if a team realizes that the enemy team is warding in a similar pattern and they see it, because
Yeah,
my biggest concern, or like my biggest, like, another like question mark that I have is like, will the coach actually be able to watch the game like a fan
I don't
and
think
have
so. I don't think so. I
full
think
and
I heard that
full
they couldn't.
yeah, like that's like something that, makes a lot of difference. Because like, if you have like the omniscient, like, God's eye view, you can kind of like help a team in a certain way, in terms of like what they've done early on, what's the work placement like, what are like the timers and stuff like that. And it can be like they can become patterns, right? um but at the same time, if they don't, then does it really make any much of a difference? Like, I doubt that coaches, unless like they're like positional coaches that played the game for like so long, they have the same amount of game knowledge and execution mainly. Like, they know, like, they probably know on theory how something will work out, but since they don't have directly the, what do you call it, the mechanical execution, or like the experience from having played at those levels, they don't really see how that can pan out, like, visually speaking. So like they cannot foresee it and predict it, and so they won't be able to give player feedback based on that. Like, if I play to, like, if I'm an ex-challenger player, I probably know like certain stuff about like how a jungler works, like how a jungle clear does, or like what I should do in a given fight. I doubt that that's something that most coaches do have.
Now
So I guess
imagine.
also, like, like in the others, in another way, it makes the coaches more accountable, because we kind of get to see hopefully we get to see what they do or like how they contribute to the team's success. But at the same time, to me, it doesn't really seem like it will
It's gonna
be
add a
much
lot
of
to
a
it.
difference. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, as I said, I think it's more about mental because to me, like a coach can, like, no one in a team knows the players better than the coach, right? Like it's how it should go, right? So if a player is not having good comms, if a player is not having a good gameplay or good decision making or anything like that, I think a coach like uh, having an intervention to kind of go to this player and tell him like the truth or tell him in a way that he knows the player will understand, right? Because he knows the player, so he knows how he will react, he knows how he has to talk to him to make him understand something without like hurting his feelings or making him go out of the game or anything. Like I think that's a huge value, because when you are not a player in that team and that you have to think about the macro and how you are playing right now, you can't really go to a player and tell him, oh, your decision making is bad right now, you need to focus or anything like that. It will not even work out. While a coach that could find the good words and that could identify that there is a problem within this player or within the psychology of the team or the decision making or anything, he could do that in a correct way, right? Right, and I think that could make a huge difference.
Okay, moving on. Towards the end here, let's rattle through, I think, a few more roster rumors that are coming out. We start with the KC mid laner. And I don't know how you're actually supposed to pronounce this. I saw.
Yao. You don't
Oh,
say
right.
the K from
Because
what I heard.
I saw, I think it was Chronicler tweet about the guy's name looks like how you looks like the noise that Super Mario makes, like Kyeahoo.
Yahoo!
No, I just can't not think of it.
Yeah, it's kind of Yahoo. It's Yahoo.
Yeah.
Yahoo.
Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was like the rumored thing was that they were looking. I don't. It might have even been confirmed that they were looking at Korean mid laners. I know like next to nothing about this guy, so I don't know if have you guys seen him at all.
Well, not much, but I've heard obviously a lot of him and a lot about him because of the fact that it made a lot of noise in the French community, right? And there are some scouts that talked a lot about him and that like kind of went through all his games and everything. So the thing is with this player, he was playing for GRX most of the year, even maybe all year. I'm not sure about that.
Since July, I
But
think maybe a bit
sorry.
earlier. Um,
No,
well,
he played. I
He,
know he played like for different stints in DRX over like the
Yeah,
past
right.
few
exactly.
years, I think.
Yeah. It's been 4 years that he's within DRX, but he played in every level of the team, in Challenger, in the academy, and in the main team. But I think this year he played all the year in LCK. I'm not quite sure, so I won't go that far. But I know
He
that
last split July. It says on Wikipedia.
it only says last split.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says that he played on challengers and like for a year from August last year till July this year.
Okay, from what I know, he made like even in 2024, he was like going around like playing with the main team, playing
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
with the academy, with the challengers. So from what I learned about the players, he's very reliable in lane, like in laning phase, and it's something I feel like KC have been looking for because Vladi was not reliable at all in laning phase, right? But outside of that, he has a huge difference with Vladi, which is the fact that he is not a player that will shine the most. He's not like an insane level of clutch player, a player that would made a lot of differences in team fights or something. He's not known for that, at least. What he's mostly known for is that he's very reliable in every aspect of the game, and that he's a very, very good laner. So yeah, kind of like a complete different mid laner than Vladi. I feel like from what I hear, it's like the complete opposite, kinda. Um, and yeah, I'm kind of hyped to see. I'm not gonna say I'm hyped, to be honest, because I was expecting more from what I heard and from the fact that they wanted to build a very, very competitive roster and stuff.
It's
Like
not, yeah,
how
it's not like it's not Showmaker, is it? That were like the ones
yeah,
that
it's
everyone
not
wanted to see.
showmaker, but I do think it was completely like you're delusional
Made
if
up,
you think
yeah.
that Showmaker could have joined KC, you know. But no, but even Zini, you know, Zini is a player that we've heard like for years now that he's been jailed in KC. That they like maybe they were hesitating about whether or not they should promote him because there was BDD in front of him, so it was kind of hard. And outside of that, I saw countless highlights of Zini on Twitter and stuff because he's a very mechanical player, a very flashy player, which Yahoo is not that much, right? And that's why it's a bit disappointing, I guess, because he's a reliable player, but he's not a player that will, you know, get the crowd going. You know, that is not a player that will outplay you in a very fashion way or that will make you cry or something. Um, so yeah, in that regard, I'm kind of disappointed, but at the same time, I do think that KC didn't really needed
Yeah.
player that will take that role because they already have Kalist, they already have Kana, and even Busio now, and even Yike actually that is known like historically for being a huge
I
carry
agree.
player, right? So they don't really need that player to be like their mid laner to be that flashy player. They kind of need reliability, I think, in this role, especially because we all know it's kind of the most important role in competitive, right? So yeah, I think it's gonna change the dynamics a lot, and I'm hyped to see how this roster overall will do, especially because of Busio now joining, more than just Yao, you know, joining. And I want to see how we will do in ADC. It's more about the team than the player, right?
Yeah. And to be fair, like kind of what we mentioned last week as well, with Reaper coming in as the head coach, has like clearly shown that he
Exactly.
can
Yeah.
bring in like young Korean players at least into LCS. Maybe it's easier to do that because you're in LA and there's like the Korean population there. Maybe it's slightly different doing it in Europe, but at least from like the team dynamics perspective, he's obviously shown that he can do it. So and yeah, I was going to kind of say that what you mentioned there as well, that like maybe having a flashy mid laner isn't even what they needed. Like especially when Kana was like spent most of the year gapping every top laner, and then
Yeah.
Kalist maybe was just hindered a bit by not having like the best support next to him. So now that he's got Busio, maybe bot lane's going to be stronger as well. So maybe you are fine just having like someone stable mid that can just kind of help support the rest. I think it looks
And that
pretty
we
good.
have the push actually, and that will have the push because I think a big issue for KC, and I do think that he like Targamas and Yike kind of um like had a hard time also because of that. Is the fact that mid was never winning the lane, and I think that it's something that is not helping at all when you play jungle soup and that you want to contest the spaces or that you want to invade the jungle or anything. That when mid is always pushed out, you can't do that, right? So the fact that now they have a mid laner that is very, very that has a lot of knowledge in lane and that knows how to play the matchups and to get push when needed and that you know will be reliable actually in that area. I do think that it can help a lot to enable jungle and support actually. So probably it will help them, I think.
Yeah. Let's transition then from well with KC's former mid. So Vladi, it's rumored, has chosen Fnatic, but they're still
They
trying
need
to
to buy out.
decide a buyout. And also Fnatic had offered a buyout for Jun of 6 figures, which would be, so at least 100,000 euros. Assuming it's euros.
Yep.
So Fnatic's looking at buyouts in multiple positions, which is kind of surprising. Just the fact that that's happening in general, like esports winter's
They are so rich.
still going. Like Fnatic doesn't seem like a team that had that much money lying around. The one kind of theory I saw is it's basically with Humanoid off the books now. Like he was on like a mega contract for years, so that's probably freed up a bunch of money. But even so, like it's a bit riskier, I think, putting that into buyouts. Like salary, you can kind of understand because it's kind of staggered. But when you do buyouts, like that's just that money's gone. You can't free buyout money up later on. Once it's gone, it's gone. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, Vladi to Fnatic, I feel like it was the one that made most sense. Like I think we'd kind of theory crafted it as well. Of the of the orgs that would potentially be looking to change mid lane, Fnatic is definitely like the biggest name org. Whether they're gonna have the most success still, obviously remains to be seen.
I don't know. I feel like Poby's getting screwed over, to be honest. Especially like it doesn't. The one thing that makes me so weirded out is like if you actually wanted to go with Jun, why wouldn't you have
That's true.
Poby?
Yeah. Unless
And
they
like
want to
on the
import
other
somewhere
hand,
else.
like from my perspective, the KC roster is like I don't remember how Yahoo plays, but like if we what you guys were saying about his laning phase being very good, I think it makes sense based on what like just how Ethan described. And also just like the whole trend of us seeing more Korean players willingly leave LCK to join the LEC because they see more chances of getting to like I guess I would assume like international
Yeah.
uh
Tier 1 competition and all, yeah.
like tournaments. It's like a positive sign because it's like we always were worried that we don't have enough imports or like we don't have enough good mechanical players in specific positions. Off the top of my head, mainly support, and then probably a little bit of mid. Because like honestly, aside from caps, who
Yeah.
do we really have?
Humanoid.
I mean, yes, yeah, I guess. But like even like him and Larson are way like light years away from whoever they were like a couple of years ago. So for me, it's like if Jun is actually getting bought out, why wouldn't you keep Poby? Unless Poby was just a temporary fix. In that case, okay, it's like that was already decided. There was like for Poby, I guess it was like, oh, you can come to EU. We'll give you the chance to, you know,
Prove
play in
yourself, yeah.
tier one, like prove yourself, play in tier one. You get more potential, like you become more like interesting and exciting for teams because obviously you get the recognition exposure, and on top of that you can play tier one.
I think he's jumped the gun. I think he was right about to get into T1's starting roster. Their mid's on the way out, I reckon.
That was smash Guma into Faker Poby.
Yeah.
Was that it? I guess for me that's the that's the big question mark. Like
Yeah,
obviously
but
Vladi is not bad. It's not. I think Vladi and Poby are side grades to me. I'm not sure what you guys see about this, but I just wonder if you already have Jun, unless you want to import on another role, which then makes sense.
maybe in top lane, yeah. Like I don't
Yeah,
see much
I'm just
of top
wondering like
laners they could get.
who you're going with, like which top
Zeus
laner
maybe.
is
Zeus maybe.
is so valuable that you're willing to drop Poby for it.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like Vladi obviously last year ended up horrendous. I feel like you still take the gamble on the fact that he like could still be like a generational LEC player. He still would count as a European player as well, which, as you say, kind of frees up things elsewhere. And if you can get him going again, then then you've basically got like a top 2 mid laner on the league, and he's on your team, and he's not on somewhere else.
And especially like who else could they get if they want to start a dynasty again? What else could they get? What else could they get right now? No one, right? Like if Vladi end up on the good side of the coin and that they manage him well, which honestly could not happen because it's Fnatic, right? But there's still a chance, right, that they end up like growing for their past mistake and their past bad management and all that stuff, and that they just like pull off all of that experience to just manage as best as they can Vladi, right? And if they do that, I do think, as Lee said, that they have a generational talent in their team, and that maybe they can start a dynasty out of that, right? If
I think
they
it's worth the risk.
kind of put the effort.
Because also, I mean, like Grabs is definitely going to be there. he's not gonna. He definitely wouldn't let Vladi like get away with the stuff he was rumored to have been doing if it was like all gambling stuff and staying up till God knows what hours. Like whether like the tough love kind of thing would help or if it would make it worse. For sure, like it's not going to be allowed to stand like not pulling his weight, I think. And I saw, I think it was like Sam Matthews, the Fnatic CEO, had responded to somebody on Twitter saying that like he's sure that Poby is still going to be in the LEC, either on Fnatic or somewhere else. And the Sheep article actually said
I
he was
can tell
likely.
you what about that. I think it's either he goes to Navi now or he go to LCS.
Right.
Navi has to make the choice. Have to make a choice between Poby or Shayek, and if they choose Shayek, then Poby will end up in the LCS, and if they choose Poby, then Shayek might not even play in Tier 1 next year.
Well,
That's basically it.
let's transition off that one then, because his spot then is going, according to the rumours, to Humanoid. So Humanoid to Team Vitality, and this is interesting because Team Vitality, the other rumour came out that was of an assistant coach, but their head coach, but the head coach is still not locked in apparently, and there had been the will they won't they about Mac and Pad, and whether both of them will stay, whether either of them will stay, whether one of them will stay.
They will split up for sure. Not even sure Mac is continuing his career. I think, like, I'm not sure if they said it already, but it's kind of 80% locked that Pad will be the head coach of Vitality next year.
And
I even think he's hinting toward that. If you look at his Twitter right now, he just said that on the Humanoid move that he will talk about it later.
Yeah.
Like, why would he talk about it if he wasn't, coaching the org or like making this decision, right?
Yeah.
So
I'll read you what he says. So he said, this was literally like straight after that news came out. Pad put on Twitter, due to restrictions, I cannot comment on anything yet. There will be a stream on the 18th of November when I'm allowed to actually talk about everything. Until then, I can only tell you that scouting for mid lane this off-season made it clear that Humanoid in a good environment is cracked. Which, seems to be like...
I agree. I agree actually with that, honestly.
But it does seem to be like, without saying it, as close to saying I'm going to be coaching Humanoid and I chose Humanoid as possible.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like Humanoid, when he was winning titles with Pad as his coach, obviously with Mac as well, back on Mad Lion.
Yeah.
So
and with Carzzy too. With Carzzy too, actually.
Yeah. Although Carzzy's not rumored to definitely be staying yet, so I don't know what's going on there. Maybe he's still under contract. I'm pretty sure Carzzy until next.
He's under contract until 26, and I think he will stay. Honestly, from what I hear, he will stay. It was maybe like if Yopa could like be promoted, maybe they would have changed. But I'm not even sure. Then they wanted to change. So I think Carzzy was about to stay anyway. It was mostly about what Yopa would do, and since Yopa is rumored to be joining SK anyway, Carzzy will stay. I think.
And I think it's kind of similar to thing with Vladi. Like, sure, he's not looked great at times recently, but has showed that he can be like the difference maker. And especially, I think with mid lane, what you mentioned before as well, you've kind of, if you want to be challenging for title, and you're a team that's not already there, you basically do have to take a risk on the mid lane and like go for someone that has shown a higher ceiling and just hope that's like, you're going to hope you're getting that Humanoid and not the like Humanoid that maybe doesn't train as well as he should do, or whatever issues there have supposedly been. I think like for Vitality, especially when things have been so rocky the last couple of years, worth the shot. Especially if you're Pad and you have got the best out of Humanoid, and you've seen Humanoid at his best playing in your team. I think it does kind of make sense.
And honestly, like also, let's just put it that way. Even though Humanoid like didn't play that well this year, like Humanoid, even in Fnatic, in a bad environment, allegedly, like from what we know and what we hear from players' feedback, Fnatic is a bad environment, kind of recently, right? But even then, Humanoid was a top 2 mid laner in the league for all his time in Fnatic, right? outside of when Vladi completely smashed the winter split, I think Humanoid was top 2 or 3 best mid laner, right, in LEC anyway. So I do think that, yeah, Humanoid, I don't think he was the problem in Fnatic. I think that Fnatic was the problem with their players and with mostly like Humanoid, but not only him. You could see that in Oscarinin, in Razork, in Noah and June when they were there, like in Mikix in the end. Like just feel like Fnatic is a nerf for any player right now. So the fact that they're rebuilding everything and trying to renew like that whole dynamic that they had within the team this year is a good sign. But on the other end, I do think that Humanoid is still a top tier mid laner in Europe. Like to me, it's a huge pickup for Vitality, and I saw a lot of people like kind of complaining about the fact that he has a shot, but I don't really get it because, as I said, in the recent years, even in the recent years when things didn't go that well with Fnatic, that they had kind of a very low ceiling, it seems like, within this org and this team. Even then, he was one of the best. So maybe now that he's enabled by the fact that he's maybe in a better org with players that he already know, as you said, with Bad that already played with him, I do think he's still cracked. I just think he need the right environment and the right conditions to thrive. And if you can find him all of that, I think you have a huge mid laner in your hands.
There's for sure. There's like no. I don't feel like there's any other mid that. There's definitely no other that would be like a clear upgrade unless they could have imported. And one thing that you hear about Humanoid as well, especially from like maybe the early days on Fnatic, was that actually his like brain of the game is actually like really, really strong, and like he would come and basically be teaching the whole team how things should be going, and like would be teaching the coaches how the game should work and all that. So that I feel like that's feedback maybe from a couple of years ago. So maybe it's
yes.
whether it's
Well,
still
I think it's kind of not that true anymore because I think like the main reason he got kicked out of Fnatic was his side lanes were completely disgusting, to be honest. Like his mid game was not the best, and his side lanes plays were like really really bad in the like this year. But in the end, yeah, I still think he's like a huge talent and still has like the thing is with this player is very he can be very clutch. Can be like he can find those angles that only him can see, and to me like it's one of the biggest quality a mid laner can have. So he can if he can just fix those small mistakes where he oversteps, where he just take a trade too far, where he just like steps way too far in the side lane and stuff. I do think that, and it's kind of things that are like you know th- that anyone can see. So if he just like if someone in the right environment tell him that he need to fix that, I think it can go very well for him. And yeah, it's just small details to me, like the player and the talent he has is still there, and I could even see that this year, to be honest.
I think maybe we leave it there this week, because it's 1 a.m. for us now, and it's about time I went to bed, I think. But yeah, any final thoughts, guys?
Oh, uh, I would really want to talk about LCK and LPL, but I guess that goes
We'll
next
save
week
it. We'll
because
save
I feel
it.
like it's so much stuff going on.
Yeah, I hope it will be
Uh,
it will be more clear next week, actually.
yeah, uh,
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
I have something, just a closing thoughts about like Navi, because I do think like what they are doing with their like rumored rosters is very very good. Um, we have to think that they are in their first year, and actually they are a team that already started building that roster during like summer. And even though there's only one player that is like allegedly staying in the team, which is on Samji, they already had their head coach lock during like at the start of summer, and they also had their jungler, which is Rilesh, that was also locked for next year during summer. So it's like they've put in the effort right away when they joined the league to actually make a competitive roster for the start of 2026. And I think it's paying off right now. They got Paris too. I think Paris, again, if he can find his rhythm and he can, like, I think in the right environment, this guy is completely cracked, and he kind of showcased it in 2023, 2024. But yeah, this year with BDS was horrible. He was not playing at all within his standards. Like, if you look at his progression in 2024, you can't think that he will have this year in 2025. It's impossible, right? He was in the same chair of rookie and of prospects as players like Skumond or Kalist. So for me, like, seeing him playing that bad in BDS was kind of shocking, to be honest. And now he's joining Navi with Ansamdi, which is probably the best ERL at GC we have with Kalist in the past few years. It will be with Rilesh, which is obviously an insane talent in the jungle that won the league with BK Rock this year, and that was like already a prospect that KC wanted a few years ago. But they couldn't afford him because of his visa situation, I think. So there's all that stuff, and then also the fact that there's Mainter joining. Mainter, which has been like the most solid top laner we had in the ERL2 in the past few years, and that is like from what I hear from his teammates and from his coaching staff, I've never heard a bad thing about him and his work ethic, which is kind of crazy. And when you recruit someone like him, like, you can already know that he will put in the efforts, especially for his first year in LC, and especially that he will bring the players around him to make the effort as well. That's what Yukino was saying to me in the interview we published on Hotspawn recently. That Mainter really teached him like discipline. So yeah, I think they have all the ingredients, and the fact that probably their last piece will be maybe Poby, it's a possibility, right? I think it can just be the perfect fit because of the fact that Rilesh is a very insane mechanical and carry champion players. So with a Poby that can enable him and that can, have strong laning phase, that can play a lot of setup champions and stuff, I think it can go very well as on Samdi that is very, very reliable on hyper carries. A Paris that will, I think, synergize way more with a player like Rilesh than 113 or Bukada this year. Yeah, I do think that this roster makes a lot of sense. That is building took a lot of time also because they started as we said in the start of summer. So I'm really, really hyped about this roster, and I do think that Navi are not here to participate. They really are trying to make things happen, and that's a huge thing for the league actually.
Yeah, sure. Much better than their predecessors had been for the last few years. And to be fair, it was even nice just seeing it like straight in summer, like making a few changes, going for things, and like you say, like setting up for this year was already, even then, was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's leave it there then.
I had one thing.
Go on.
I had one thing. Rip Milky Way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's joining Bo as I saw.
I mean, not ripped, but just rip.
Yeah.
What was the stuff?
It's kind of
what was he done for?
It's
Both
honestly
mechanical jungle.
Like I feel like LPL junglers getting.
Especially when they're carries.
I'll stop there. I'll stop it right there. Who knows, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
There we
He
go.
will join. Don't worry, he will join LEC eventually. And he will have a very bad showing, and then he will go back, and we will never hear from him again, I guess.
Well, let's see. Let's see what Chris Greeley thinks of him, and if he doesn't like him right now, then we know he's set for the future. All right, nice one. Thanks for your time, guys. As always, thanks for listening and watching as well. And yeah, we'll see you again in a couple of weeks, and hopefully there's more LCK stuff.
See you.
Catch you later then.
See you, bye.
See ya.